Drone operators of the Security Service of Ukraine have carried out strikes on areas in the occupied territories where Russian troops and armored combat vehicles were located. As a result of nighttime strikes using FP-2 drones equipped with 105-kilogram warheads, a significant number of Russian military personnel and various armored vehicles were blown up and destroyed.
While Ukraine scales up attacks on Russian cities and energy infrastructure, Russia descends into a deepening economic and fuel crisis, exposing the fragility of its system. From refinery fires to collapsing supply chains, the consequences are spreading fast. Even distant Russian regions and colonies are beginning to feel the pain, questioning Moscow's control and looking for a way out. Ukraine's precision strikes are pushing Russia toward internal collapse, and why the cracks are now impossible to hide. One of Russia's largest financial telegram channels, MMI, which analyzes microeconomics and the market situation, published an alarming post that can effectively be considered an admission of a large-scale crisis in the Russian economy. According to Rosstat, the consumer price index in Russia increased by 0.23% in the first week of October, and annual inflation reached 8.1%, and these are only the official figures. Meanwhile, gasoline prices increased by 0.85% over the week and by 10.15% since the beginning of the year. At first glance, the figures may seem insignificant, fractions of a percent, but in microeconomics, these are huge leaps. A 0.25% rise in the CPI in a week is a rate at which annual inflation easily exceeds 12 to 13%, and gasoline, which has risen 10% in just 9 months, is a blow to the entire price chain, from transportation and logistics to food. The channel's experts write with outright panic. This is, as they say, a crash. If we're lucky, a collapse. Rising prices and the falling ruble are the result of several blows to the Russian economy. Chief among these are Ukraine's attacks on oil refineries, which are causing Russia to lose fuel production and force it to raise domestic prices. Every new explosion at a refinery now automatically impacts Russians' wallets. At the same time, the Russian central bank is backed into a corner. Raising the key rate is no longer helping to curb inflation, and lowering it will lead to an even more rapid decline in the ruble. Economists note that Russia is facing a typical military crisis: rising military spending, a budget deficit, and rising fuel and food prices. Industry is struggling to cope, and retailers are reporting accelerating price increases for almost everything, from bread to household chemicals. Financial analysts at MMI sum up the gloomy situation briefly. Comment is unnecessary. The United States will provide Ukraine with intelligence data to launch long-range missile strikes against Russia's energy infrastructure. Targets could include oil refineries, pipelines, power plants, and so on, the Wall Street Journal reported recently. According to the publication, Trump has already signed permission for the Pentagon and intelligence agencies to assist Ukraine with strikes against Russia's energy sector. Mikhailo Gonchar, president of the Strategy 21 Center for Global Studies of Ukraine and an expert on international energy relations and security, explained how U.S. aid, intelligence, and new long-range weapons is expanding Ukraine's ability to influence Russian energy. According to him, the effectiveness of strikes against Russia's oil refining infrastructure depends on the correct formulation of objectives and the availability of appropriate resources. We're already seeing the results of our systematic work on Russian oil refining. Previously, in 2023 and early 2024, we were only hitting targets within a few hundred kilometers. The Novoshakhtinsk refinery in the Rostov region, the Tuapse refinery in the Krasnodar region, and the Afipsk and Ilsk refineries. But now, with the advent of longer-range weapons, we can hit targets from the Baltic to the Black Sea, the expert explained. Gonchar emphasized that this enables Ukraine not only to restrict fuel and electricity production in Russia, but also to potentially create conditions for large-scale power outages. He also noted that supplying Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles and sharing intelligence with the United States significantly enhances Kiev's strategic capabilities to target key Russian energy facilities. Our attacks have already created significant problems for Russia. Look at what's happening in the fuel market. But it's not just gasoline. Russia is currently making desperate attempts to eliminate import duties so that gasoline, diesel, and other petroleum products can be imported. An energy blockade of the Russian capital region, meaning Moscow and the surrounding area, should be on the agenda because Russia's territory is vast. We can't cover it all, and there's no need to. All the spawn of hell are in Moscow. So we just need to extinguish the power in the Russian capital, he said. Experts say that strikes to Russia's energy infrastructure could force regions to adopt strict restrictions and critical consumption regimes. In this case, energy riots in the regions are not out of the question. But we haven't even started hitting Gazprom's facilities yet. And here we have plenty of room to roam, the expert noted. Gonchar is confident that the option of an energy blockade of the Russian capital region, that is, Moscow and the surrounding region, should be on the agenda.